Hello, my name is Sara Codair, and I really hope that people aren't tired of seeing me in this outfit, because this is the third video in my I accepted too many review requests and now I gotta catch up rapid fire review videos. So, today I am reviewing a novelette, and no, I am not entirely sure how that is different from a novella, but it is called Life Minus Me by Sara Codair. This is one that I actually asked for in theory, as I've been sending out some feelers trying to get some more neurodiversity and genderqueer stuff, specifically genderqueer, because I feel like I've gotten pretty good at finding like sexuality queer type stories, but genderqueer stuff is still lacking on my list. So this is a fantasy novel, I believe a new adult, all about a young supernatural woman named Mel as she struggles to prevent a non-binary person named Bailey from committing suicide. Her cousin, who is also non-binary, almost committed suicide in the past, and she managed to prevent that. However, she's not exactly sure how to help Bailey. Now, I was really intrigued by that premise. There's a lot of depression rep, anxiety rep, and I can't necessarily speak to the validity of those because I do not suffer from those mental illnesses or mental health problems, whatever we're calling them these days, but it felt to me like they were fairly nuanced, and they talk about a lot of different layers, so I believe this is, to a certain extent, own voices, so I'm going to kind of have to trust that this is done correctly. If anyone else has read these and you want to call it out, feel free. I do not pretend that I am any kind of authority on that. But I enjoyed the rep. I realized that I really got to read more work with non-binary characters, because seeing the pronouns they, them in writing so prolifically was weird for my brain to catch up with, because most of the they, them pronoun usage I've seen in reference to non-binary characters has almost always been side characters, so it hasn't been like a giant chunk of the story with those pronouns. So I gotta work on that for me, and obviously I'm not gonna carry it up and be like, it was so hard for me to adjust. That's on me. But if you haven't read a lot with non-binary characters, it might be like a learning curve for you as well. The one big struggle that I had with this book, though, aside from the genderqueer rep and the mental health rep, that was all fantastic. The problem is that the fact that this was both fantasy with its elements almost felt a little too jumbled for me. Our main character, or one of our main characters, Mel, is a variety of things. She's human and angel and elf and has a demon hunter grandpa, and it felt what I like to call too protagonisty, where it feels like way too much is going on for one character. And it feels weird to say that, because judging by the synopsis of the first formal book in the series, she's not the main character. Her cousin is, the cousin who is a side character in this one. So it almost feels strange to say that, but there's so much going on with her character that just trying to understand her backstory got a little bit crazy, and it almost felt like it detracted from the mental health rep that was being displayed, because there was just a lot to unpack in that. And in a lot of cases, the fantasy elements just kind of felt like plot devices to further, because obviously the main conflict of the story was not fantasy based, and it was more like, oh, she has all of these tools she can use to help save this person, like mind reading, and she enlists the use of pixies a lot, and like that kind of thing. It didn't necessarily feel like the fantasy was important to the story beyond moving it forward. Now, I read the synopsis for the official formal beginning of the series, and it looks like that one is much, much, much more focused on supernatural elements and demons and that kind of thing. So it might pick up if you actually start with that one, and maybe this one is less confusing if you've read that one first, because I always wonder with prequels, like, are you meant to read the first formal book in this series first and then go to this one? Or can you read them in chronological order as they were published? Like, that's always the argument. And personally, I prefer prequels where you can start from the prequel where you essentially make a new first book, in essence. But for this one, it just felt like I almost wanted it to be a contemporary in some ways. And like I said, the fantasy did help in that it helped Mel figure out what Bailey was feeling and how to help them. But I almost really just want to read a contemporary about a non-binary person struggling with depression and anxiety and suicide ideation. And as far as I can tell from the training I have received, because I am working in a school and we do receive suicide ideation training, that looked fairly on par as well. Again, I have been very blessed in that I have not had those thoughts, so I can't speak from personal experience, but based on the official formal training I've received, it seems pretty legit. Again, if you've read this and you want to chime in, please do. But beyond that, the actual meat of the book is probably going to be a struggle for those that are maybe in this place or maybe not. It depends. But this is definitely a book you have to be in the right headspace for. This is definitely not light, fluffy reading. We have multiple characters with suicide ideation, a lot of anxiety, and you definitely need to go into this knowing what you're getting into. And thankfully, the author does have trigger warnings at the beginning, and I love that. I really want to see publishing, both indie and regular, normalize that. Not indie and regular. Indie and traditional. Indie is regular, and I will fight for that. Anyway, I appreciated that. I would definitely say warning if you are currently in a darkish place and you want to read books for escapism, this probably isn't the best one for you. But if you want some more NB rep, you want some more mental health rep, I would definitely check this one out. As for me, I gave this one 3 stars purely because I was going between 3 and 4, and I sat down and I thought to myself, would I want to continue the story with the main actual formal beginning of the series? And I thought, no, not really. And that usually for me says 3 stars. But I would still highly suggest this one for anyone looking for that kind of rep. For me, the fantasy just muddled it up a little too much. But beyond that, still a great pick for the representation that it gives. So I am currently still close to review requests. I'm working on it. I'm getting through as many as I can while also, still giving them the time. But with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.